I look like a professor. I feel like I need glasses or something to increase the appearance of my intellect. Anyway, hi. My life philosophy is I was not born to be ugly or have a bad time. So, therefore, I'm just here to be hot and have fun. Now, how I define being hot and having fun is not in the conventional sense of what it means to be hot or to have fun. Okay, so you kind of need to define these terms for yourself. Being hot for me does involve like looking good, but it means looking good in a way that also feels good. I don't want to punish myself in order to be considered pretty or desirable or beautiful to other people. I want to be able to live a life where I'm nurturing myself, looking after myself, and in turn feeling good about myself and then looking good. It's not about being able to like comply with societal beauty standards. It's about feeling good, looking good as a result, rather than trying to look good and then punishing yourself in the process of trying to achieve that. And I think that a lot of the times when we get really caught up in beauty standards and worrying about how we look in the eyes of others rather than how we look in our own eyes and determining what that really means, you just get yourself into a bit of a tizzy. So it definitely takes time to sort of unlearn this conditioning where everything is about looking a certain way in order to fit in, because it's something that I've been thinking about from a really young age when I was like studying feminism and making like feminist art about the beauty myth and stuff. So I've always kind of had that in the back of my mind as I've been growing up. And there is like a balance that I try to strike between looking good because there are parts of my job where I need to look a certain way, but also doing it in a way that allows me to feel good about myself rather than living in a state of constant anxiety about, oh, my skin like not being flawless enough, or my weight or my appearance not complying with arbitrary trends that are constantly coming and going. Anyway, being hot, okay? Being hot is about feeling good for me. And then the side effect of that, or like a secondary benefit, is also being able to look good. So that's one of the things I would include in my being hot part. So it's not just about superficial things. It's about like an emotional, spiritual, and like physical maintenance of self, and doing things that nurture and reinforce like a healthy sense of self and are in the pursuit of healthy goals rather than, like I said, like self-punishing ones, like just being a young woman living in society at any time, it seems, there are so many pressures that are thrust upon you in terms of your value being determined by your desirability and your physical appearance. So I think that being around a lot of kind of toxic diet culture and disordered eating really has an effect on your relationship with food, exercise, and your body. So for the longest time, even though I was never like severely overweight or ever really needed to lose weight, I always had this like weird relationship with exercise where on the one hand, it's like a part of my identity was that I didn't like exercise and that I was not good at sport. Like I would have been a straight A student if I didn't constantly get a C in phys ed. But for the longest time, I just like hated exercise and told myself that I hated exercise, told myself that I was bad at it. And only in the last few years did I start to really change my relationship with exercise and physical activity and reframe it as it being an important part of maintaining my mental health. Like every mental health professional is going to tell you that doing physical activity is good for your mental health as much as it is good for your physical health. And whenever I would attempt to do exercise of any kind, I would just feel like it was always about weight loss, even though I didn't really need to lose weight, but I felt like I was exercising because I had to lose weight for some like nonsensical reason. And when I started to think about physical activity just as something that I enjoyed doing to maintain my mental health, because I eventually reached like a mental health rock bottom, that I was like, I will do whatever it fucking takes to stop feeling like this. And like starting to exercise was one of those things. when I changed my relationship with exercise and started doing exercise just because I enjoyed it and just because I knew that it was good for me, it changed my mental health for the better. And it also facilitated me being able to look better because I felt better. So I think like if your job is not looking a certain way, just doing things that you enjoy that moves your body is going to be better for you than thinking like you have to have some kind of regimented exercise schedule to achieve some arbitrary goal that you're like not even really feeling any satisfaction from. You're only maybe like hoping that someone outside of you might validate you for it. So for me, like just doing things like a yoga stretch more days of the week than not, it might just be like 10-minute yoga stretch on YouTube that I do in the morning. And then at the moment, like I really enjoy doing pole dance. It's like an exercise that I don't feel like I'm exercising when I'm doing it. And I enjoy the challenge of learning new moves and choreography. And I enjoy the community around it and like the sort of mutual support that students give each other. Like everybody's there just to learn something new, and we're all there to encourage each other to do better. And I feel like that kind of environment is so empowering to be in versus when I would like try to go to the gym. Just for me personally, like it felt so impersonal, it felt so intimidating, and you don't really get to interact with anybody at the gym unless you're like going with your friend. And I don't have any other friends that enjoy going to the gym. And then other things like Pilates and stuff, I just could never really be consistent with it, and I never saw or felt like a significant change in my strength and in my body. But for me, like learning pole dance has totally changed my upper body strength. Like I literally couldn't even pull myself up when I first started, and now I feel like I can open any jar. Yeah, like that's what works for me. That's part of my like being hot and having fun lifestyle at the moment. And whatever it is for you might be different. You know, you might enjoy doing yoga, you might enjoy doing Pilates, you might enjoy just going for a hot girl walk, you know, a few times a week. I think just walking around without like scrolling on your phone, if you turn off your notifications or if you leave your phone at home, if it's safe to do so, going out and just walking around and being present in the moment and looking at what your surroundings are like, separate from the constant stream of information that you get from being online, I think is like literally such a radical practice in this day and age, because we're living in this, you know, like information age and this extraction of your attention, the attention economy. Obviously, the irony of me like saying this on a social media platform that uses advertising to like generate revenue, but you can also choose the content that you engage with and tailor it in a way that is actually beneficial to your mental health and your general well-being. If you are someone who gets really overwhelmed when you watch the news, just watch the news a little bit less, because again, unless it's like your job to be up to date like that and you can depersonalize that kind of information, you're just like kind of hemorrhaging your emotional energy into something that you can't then necessarily turn into affirmative action. You know, you want to be able to use your emotions to trigger you to reflect on where you're at, what you're doing, what you want to do, and then turn that into like productive, forward moving action. And when you're just overwhelmed by news that you have no direct control over, you just feel so helpless. And then like you've just wasted a trigger, you know, like your triggers actually are there to help you when you allow them to. And I think it also then can sort of like muddy or muddle the triggers that are actually important for you to take action on, you know, in terms of your personal relationships, your work, your relationship with yourself. Like if I'm constantly overwhelmed by negative news, when I'm triggered by like something in my actual life, it can be difficult to then discern that that is something I need to act upon, because I'm so used to being triggered in a negative way and then not being able to do anything. It can almost like cripple you in your personal life. So I think that's also something to consider, like in your being hot and having fun lifestyle. Having fun for me is not just about like living a hedonistic lifestyle and running away from my problems and like living on a high. It's about being intentional with the things that I engage with. And I want to be able to do things that make me feel good on the inside and aren't like me just running away from a discomfort within me and seeking a distraction from it, only for that discomfort to grow and then bite me in the ass later down the line. So having fun is not just about escapism, it's about intentionally choosing the people that I have relationships with of any kind, being intentional with the work that I do, and doing my best where possible so that I feel like I'm at least existing in a way that facilitates like some kind of contentment within me. You know, before I really felt like I was constantly running from something or running to something, and now it's much easier for me to just like be centered and enjoy doing nothing, enjoy not necessarily making progress every single second of the day, being able to just rest, because eventually you'll have to rest, and if you don't let yourself rest, your body will force you to. So intermittent periods of just being able to be like, I'm going to do nothing and I'm not going to feel bad about it, then gives me the contrast required to be like, okay, now it's time to like get my shit together. And I'm still trying to figure out that balance, because I feel like when I was living in Australia for the last 2 years with all these restrictions and stuff because of the pandemic, I just felt like I was operating at like 20 or 30% of my actual full capacity. And moving back to Shanghai, I'm like 5 months in. I'm still just like getting used to being like a full person again, like being able to see multiple people in a week, whereas before I would see maybe 1.5 friends a week. My social activity was like going to the post office and sending Depop orders, or like doing a call with my colleague working remotely. Whereas now it's like I went out 4 days in a row last week. Thursday I DJ'd, Friday I DJ'd, Saturday went to a gig, Sunday also went to a gig. And honestly, thank God I don't drink like that, because I don't know how I'd even be making this video right now if I was hungover. But I'm very sleep deprived. But that's part of having fun, you know, like I intentionally chose the gigs that I took because of whatever goals I might have for myself or whatever things I'm trying to explore since getting back to Shanghai. And then I went to those gigs because I wanted to be able to support and just see what is happening in Shanghai now, because I haven't been here in so long and so many things have changed. And it was really inspiring to just see what people are doing and to hear exciting music and to see people excited about music. I hadn't been to a live show in like 2 years at least. And even though Shanghai is under restrictions now, the number of people at this gig was like insane to me. I was just, really glad that I went out and did those things because I was being hot and having fun. So that's my life philosophy. And it's just kind of what I return to whenever I feel like overwhelmed or whenever I feel like I don't know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. I just think about, I just want to be hot and have fun. Okay, that's like the bare minimum for me. It doesn't matter if I don't achieve the things that I think I want to achieve on the timeline that I want to achieve them, as long as I'm enjoying myself and making the most of the opportunities that I have and being intentional with the friendships and relationships that I have. What more could you ask for? You know, I care so much less about what other people think or how people perceive what I'm doing because I already feel good about what I'm doing. But when I don't feel good about what I'm doing and when I'm just kind of like running around, avoiding my problems, avoiding myself, then other people's opinions are going to get to me a lot more than if I was able to be intentional. And it's just a balance that you need to strike. Like, it doesn't mean that I don't take what other people say into account. Of course, there are people who I care about, who I respect, and whose opinions I value very highly, and I will always take into consideration. But just like being online and being a person, you're inevitably going to meet other people who have something to say about who you are and who they think you are. And when you are channeling your energy into enjoying the present moment and living according to your own philosophy of being hot and having fun, you literally just don't even have the energy to entertain other people's opinions of you. Like, I still hear a lot about what people think about me coming back to Shanghai, or what they think about what I am or aren't doing. And I do have moments where I'm like, oh, fuck, what am I doing? But that's normal. But I'm not like, it doesn't matter to me as much because I have a much deeper understanding of myself and my life, that it's like nobody else can tell me how I should live, because they're just not going to know me as well as I know myself. And if I hadn't taken the time to like reflect on that, and if I didn't continuously take the time to reflect on that, I wouldn't be able to come to that sort of conclusion each time. And I think I noticed such a huge difference before, when it was just kind of like intermittent periods of reflection, when shit kind of hit the fan, and then you sort of have no choice but to ask yourself, damn, what went wrong here? Instead of like waiting for that breaking point, now having a regular practice of meditation, journaling, and just like knowing what my boundaries are when it comes to social interaction means that I don't feel like I'm on the edge of burnout, or I'm on the edge of a mental breakdown. I just like microdose existential crises every week. And I'm hoping that somehow that will compound into me being able to figure out a clearer direction for what I want to do. Being hot and having fun. Define it for yourself, and then take small actions to ensuring that you're maintaining that, like your life is like a garden, the garden of being hot and having fun. And it's not like you just plant a seed and then you're done. It's not like you just water the garden one time and then you never have to water it again. It's something that you need to constantly cultivate, nurture, practice, and adapt how you look after. You adapt how you look after a garden according to the seasons, and that's the same as like adapting your philosophy of being hot and having fun in different seasons of your life. You're allowed to change and embrace change, because everything is changing all the time anyway, whether you're aware of it, whether you accept it or not. Shit is going to change for you. So developing an awareness of how that's happening, whether within you or around you, and a healthy balance of an awareness around both, gives you the choice to decide what you're going to do about it. And that is one of the hardest things to do in life, I think, because we just want an answer like right away. Like, why can't I just know what I'm doing? But you don't usually know what you're doing until you've done enough of something, and then you can kind of like reflect and be like, okay, so this led to this, and then that led to this, and I liked this about it, I didn't like that about it. What can I focus on to like cultivate more of? What can I better manage so that I don't have to deal with that shit as much? It's just ongoing, the same way you like plant a seed, you water it, it starts to blossom, and then, the weather gets weird, so maybe you need to like come up with some kind of shelter for it. Maybe the weather is great, then you don't have to worry so much about it. There is times when you can leave the plant by itself to grow. There are times when you need to pull off its leaves and like pick the dead parts off of it and water it and fertilize it. So just think of your life like that. There's no one size fits all. There's no immediate answer. And we definitely live in a culture now where like it's possible to spend more time online in a day than like in your real life, and to be scrolling and looking at content by people that you're not personally connected to, and just be like comparing yourself to that all the time rather than living in the present moment. And I think because of that, and just like the amount of advertising that we're exposed to, and this messaging that's like, you're not good enough unless you own this, unless you buy this. Your life will be better and your problems will be solved if you just buy this product, if you just buy this service. And there is no like thing that you can purchase that makes your problems go away, or that just suddenly empowers you in a way that you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have that product. Like everything when it comes to feeling centered and feeling sure of yourself comes from within you. It's a choice that you make, and it's like these micro choices that you make that compound, and that is not something that you can buy, but it is something that you can slowly cultivate in your own life. And I'm not saying that like structural issues and privilege don't exist and can just be suddenly overcome with this kind of practice, but being able to just like manage your emotions and your expectations and your intentions on a daily basis can have such a big difference on how you experience life and then the direction that your life goes in. You can be intentional with what you do rather than feeling like you need to wait for somebody to give you the approval to do what it is you really want to do. And that's not easy, like it's easier said than done. There's still so many things that I want to do that sometimes I feel like I am waiting for someone to tell me that it's okay for me to do. But you just need to get over yourself, basically. I just need to get over myself. I am the thing that's standing in my own way when I'm waiting for someone to tell me like, yeah, you should do this. And I'm like, okay, then I'll do it. But it's like I've wanted to do it this whole time. Why didn't I just fucking do it? Even something like when I started learning pole dance, I wanted to learn for a really long time. Maybe like since 2019, end of 2019, I took an interest in wanting to learn pole dance. And I was still living in Shanghai at the time. There was like a studio near where I lived, and I just never really got around to going to it. And then eventually I got stuck in my hometown in Australia, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just like see where I can learn to do pole dance here because I've got nothing else to do, or I have a lot of free time. And I was lucky that in spite of everything else being closed, gyms and like workout studios were open. Like I think I couldn't even go to like restaurants to dine in, couldn't go to the club, couldn't DJ, but I could learn how to pole dance. So I decided to sign up for a class. I asked a bunch of my friends if they wanted to come. They all expressed interest, but nobody would commit to coming with me. And I was just like, well, who cares? I'm just going to go. Like, I don't need them to come with me to just see what's up. And even though the first class was like so hard, I literally couldn't even pull myself up, I really enjoyed the challenge and I took to it. So now I've been learning for almost 2 years, and coming back to Shanghai, I found a different studio to go to here. I've convinced so many of my friends to come and try it with me, and they've actually come, which is great. And, when I tell people that I learn pole dance, there's always someone who's like, why did you want to do that? And I'm like, I don't know, it's just fun. I enjoy it. I don't care what anybody else thinks about it. I know that one of my friends' moms hates the idea of pole dance, like probably wouldn't want her own daughter to do it. And she is literally like my adopted second mother, and I would feel so bad about myself if I ever disappointed her. But I'm sure that she's just happy to see me happy and doing something that I enjoy and that's actually good for me as well. Like it's a great full body workout, and I encourage anybody who's interested in learning how to pole dance, regardless of gender, to do it. Because like the other day, there was a guy in our class. I live in Shanghai, China, okay? Like a straight white guy came to our class, and he was learning how to pull himself up. And he was like buff. Like he obviously goes to the gym on a regular basis. I would say that his bicep is like the size of my head. And he was like struggling to pull himself up because the way that you use your muscles in pole is so different to like other exercises. And in the first class, you already like started to learn how to do flip, dal, inversion. And yeah, it was fun. All of us were there like supporting him and helping him, encouraging him, like, oh, make sure you don't need to have your arms so high, hook your outer leg, blah, blah, blah. We were just there to be hot and have fun. And I want that for you too. You can do that. These little things in life are really what bring you a sense of fulfillment. When I think about external things that I've achieved, it's not that I shouldn't or don't want to continue to achieve things, but once you've achieved something, you always want to achieve something else. So the thing that I appreciate the most about those experiences is usually like the people that I worked with, the people that I connected with because of a project I worked on, or, the fun that we had working on it, not just like the outcome itself, but I also recognize like how those outcomes are important to facilitate the next thing, but I'm not just holding out for that achievement anymore. You know, the process, the journey is what we're here for. So that was actually more about being hot and having fun than it was about the slay and the flop. That's going to be in the next video. Thanks for watching.